Yeah, I think it's almost time, so I guess we can get started. So let me take out everything else. So yeah, today we're basically just seeing like how we could use programming in our daily lives. One of the I guess most fun ways to use it is probably to make your own game. You can make it as complex or as simple as you want. So for today's game, what my today's game will only be like around 100 lines of code. Of course, if you not sure if you guys play like complex games, they might require like thousands or tens of thousands of lines of code, and just a lot of complex stuff. But we're not going to get into that today. This is just a good demonstration of like maybe like a career path. You might want to be a not really a game designer, but like you work for like a gaming company, and then you might like make new features to a game or make a new game entirely. So today we're doing a game that's called Boss Battle. It is actually based on like a real game, but I changed it a bit. So yeah. So your goal is obviously to kill the boss at the end, and the rules are simple. So there's one player and one boss. The player can choose one talent to use and three skills to use, and then they take turns with the boss to attack each other. Really simple, just like any game. So I guess let's start. You guys, I am having like this thing to you guys should focus on this slide, like see how I am coding the game. So that one's sorry. Um, that one's just for reference. So first, you need to import some stuff. Just this is not really important, but like, this is just to import a lot of stuff basically to use. And then we to declare a class. So, note that this little tab is called boss.java, which means that this like program is called boss. So, um, supposed to be called boss battle, but I already have something that's named that. So the name doesn't matter. You can call whatever you want as long as you keep it consistent. So if I this tab is called boss, then I should put boss over here. After that, you want to do the main method. I'm not sure if you guys know, but the main every program must have a main method for it to run. Like um honestly, like it's probably the most important stuff. And sorry, I can't really speak and type at the same time. So um yeah, so this is the basic stuff. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. And then the special feature of this or should I say of this like game is that I use arrays to help me to keep track of like all the information, like for example your health points and also your attack power. That's the only two things we're concerned about. So we first make one called player, which is this is the name. So this tells you like this will be an integer array, and then you name it player. That's you. And then the the zeroth index will be the health point, and the first index will be the attack power, as you can see over here. So if you ever forget, just remember that the index 0 of player is the player's health points. The index 1 of player is the player's attack power. Same thing with boss, but with a different, I guess, a different array. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. So they start out equal like that. Don't forget to add that at the end. So next, I'm going to introduce some like new stuff, I guess. It's called scanners. So what a scanner is that it allows you to take user input. So for example, let's say you're playing a game, and then the game you need to like press W to move forward, right? That's kind of the you could interpret that as kind of the program saying that if you give us a U, we move forward, kind of like that. So what we need to do is we first need to say I want a scanner, and then I say I need to name it. What do I name it? I usually name it console, but you can name it whatever you want, like basically anything. I'm gonna stick with console because that's what I'm used to. And then you say I want a new scanner. So this new keyword is like present everywhere, but like you say I want a new scanner, and then this system in basically tells it like I want to take input. So that's basically how you would declare it. And then we could see over here that I declared a variable string called name. So from the name of the string, we can say this is the player's name. So what this part does, console.next, is that console refers to the scanner. Like you have to call the scanner by its name to tell it to do something, right? Dot next is like kind of a method in the like in the scanner class. So what next does is that it takes the next input of the user, like that's why it's called next, and then it stored it as a string. So if basically what this does is just to like ask the user, say, please type something, and I'll say that the name. I'm gonna copy the rest of this because like it's gonna take like half an hour to type it, and I don't want to waste time. So yeah, so what this part does is just a reminder that the system.out.println basically means that it's gonna print, and then we use these two what is it called? I forgot. Like you surround the text in order to say that this is a text instead of maybe a variable, or like you're calling something. That's what you do. So all the yellow stuff is what would be actually printed. So first, I want to like know the player's name, right? So I would ask the program to print, please enter a name, and then I put the variable here in order to just take the input of the user. So what, for example, for my name, I would say I would enter Egen, and then the name, the string name will be will contain the value Egen because that's what I entered. All right, that's and then I'll print out some basic information. We play games, they do like, oh, hello, blah blah blah, and then they basically introduce their game. That's what I am doing here. So I was saying, welcome to the boss battle. Your goal is to defeat the boss without dying. Here's a little initial information. So note that this is a method. Don't care about that too much. Just know that this is gonna print out the information. I'm gonna call that later. Yeah, this is gonna print the information. And then look after. Please note that the boss will enter rage state if its HP is below 30 or if the game lasts more than 10 rounds. During rage state, the boss would double its power and gain 3 health points. HP is equal to health points every round. So this basically gives a description of how the game, I mean, that's kind of like a basic rule of the game, but like the rules already. These are some additional rules. And then we're done with that, like the first part basically. I would call that part the introduction. And then let me copy the other part 1 second. So, and then note that I was printing this long line. Why do I need to do that? I just want to separate, like, I guess the first part from the second part, just look nicer. It does not do anything. And then the second part, remember that the role contains that we can choose 1 talent. Now I'm gonna define the talents. So I'll say like the first talent is that your attack power increased by 1 each round. And my second talent is that we deal extra damage equal to 50% of the boss's HP per round. And the third talent is heal yourself by 2 health points per round. So you can change like any one of these. So if you don't like talent 2, you can just say like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do something else, like deal extra damage equal to like 5 deal extra 5 points of damage each round. I'm just gonna keep it like that because that's my design. You guys can have your own design if you want. Yeah, and then basically I was saying that much, and then now it's time to ask the player to actually pick their own talent, right? So I define an integer called talent, and then I ask the player to give the next integer. So if you look closely, this looks almost exactly like console.next, but instead of the method next, I was calling next int. So what this does is specifying that, oh, next, your next input, I want an integer. So if you give it like a double or a string, the program will be like, that's not an integer, and then it will just crash. Well, not crash, it's gonna say it doesn't work. Yeah, this is the second part. So you pick your talent. And the third part is, of course, picking your skills. This is a tiny bit more information, but if you look closely, it's the same thing. You first separate this, and then the yellow things are just nothing special. It's gonna get printed. So note that I declare an array list over here. So if you guys, not sure if you guys remember, but array list is something that it's kind of like a array, but then the different things that it starts at 0. I mean, like with like no elements in it, and then you can add and remove it. So it's like a flexible version of the array. I choose it to use it here because if you read it carefully, each skill could be only used once. So after you choose the 3 skills, I could append them to the skills, to like the array list. And then if I use one, I would remove that. So that just serves as a benefit of just making it easier for me to kind of visualize and see which skills I have used, and helps me to keep track. Yeah, that's all the description. Take a minute to read it. So the first skill is like you heal by 20 points, and then heal the enemy by 10 points. Second skill is to deal damage equal to twice the attack power. And then skill 3 is to take damage equal to 20% lost HP, deal damage to the boss equal to 30% of the boss lost HP. Skill 4 is to take 10 damage, deal 20 damage to the boss. And skill 5 is to attack one time, and then heal yourself by the same amount of damage dealt. Pretty fair skills. So and then what this part do is, so what this do is like, it starts at declare variable start at 1 and end at 3, and then increments every round. So what basically this means is that this code will run 3 times, will loop through 3 times actually. So skills refers to this array list, and then .add is just a method to append something to the end of the array list. So and this part, console.next looks exactly like this part. It was asking the user for 3 inputs or 3 inputs or just 3 numbers indicating the skill number. And after you pick that, the preparatory stage is ready, and now you can start fighting the boss. Oh, before that, we also need to declare that. 1 second. So we need to keep record of the rounds and also the rage state of the boss. If you remembered earlier, the rage state is reached if either the boss HP is below 30 or if the game lasts more than 10 rounds. So basically, these are the initial information. The goals is to kill the boss, but also in the least amount of rounds, because that's what I guess most games would aim for. Yeah, let's start, I guess. So before we do anything, what we should do is just to have a basic structure of how the game will go. So let's say first I want to define when will the game stop. So when will it stop? So either the player health point is so the game will continue as long as if your HP is greater than 0, or and if the boss health point is greater than 0. So like you guys are still alive, right? So you guys gonna keep playing. So just gonna put it here. So just a reminder, the first index of player is equal to player's health point, same with boss, and the 1 is equal to player attack power, same with the boss. So and then let's assume that player gets the attack first. So we want to say, oh, I want to say player attacks. Then player use talent. Then player use skill. So note that I did not define this function. I was just saying here that's like pretty common for kind of deciding the structure of the game first, or basic structure of any program. So imagine if you just write you first write without having a structure, you might code completely useless stuff, and then so maybe you might decide, oh, I don't need this, and then all the extra code you just written will go to waste. So always have a structure first, and then after the player does everything, it's time for the boss to attack. So B attack. Now, what we're missing is like, how do we check the rage state, right? We need to check it before the boss attacks, so this attack will kind of use the rage, I guess the rage state's powers. So how you would check it? So just remember the conditions. Just type the conditions in. So it's either that the round number is greater than 10, or if the boss health power is less than 30. That's how what defines it. So what would happen if the boss is enraged? Well, we defined earlier that if it's enraged, its attack power will be equal to 10, or twice the original attack power. And the boss health point each round. So each loop in the while loop is a round. So each round, the health point will be incremented by 3. Yeah, but how about when the boss is not in rage state? That's where the else statement comes in. If the boss is not in the rage state, we're gonna like put everything back to 5. And then if we would attack, we know, like the rage state is already been determined, so there will be no mistakes, because like your conditions are like, you specify the conditions and there will be no mistake. And then after the attack, we need to do something else. We need to increment the round by 1 because we completed that round. And then also this familiar print info function is here. So just think this will print everything else. So next we need to think, what would happen if we exit the while loop? So that will only happen under 2 conditions. 1, you die. So either your health point drops below 0, or the boss dies. The boss health point drops below 0. So what you need to do is to do an if statement to decide who wins, right? You need the program to notify you about who won the game. So what I would do is like, first we say if the player's health point is less or equal to 0, I would print like something like, oh, you lasted how many rounds, but unfortunately the boss beat you. Else, because we know that there's only gonna be 2 conditions, so if we didn't die, the boss will die. I'm really certain of that because of the while loop over here. So the while loop will only exit if one of the 2 conditions satisfied, or like both. I guess it's not impossible for both to satisfy, like at least in this game. But like you need to consider that if you're making some more complex games. I'm just trying to keep this simple at this point. So what you would say is, you managed to kill the boss in like how many rounds? And nice job. So that means you won. So that essentially would be the conclusion of our main. So this is just a structure of how a game will go. If you go back and think about it, it does make sense, right? So first you attack, and then the boss attack, and then if the game ends, you print out like a statement. And then it's not over yet, because if you think about it, we did not define a lot of functions. we don't, the program does not know what print info does, or like P attack, P talent, PCL, or B attack. We had to define them. Let's start with the easier one, which is the print info. So first we need to say public static void. Void just means that it's not going to return anything. And then we give the name. You need to type it exactly as how you would call it. And then the parameters notes that we want to print the info of the player, the boss, as well as the round number, which means like how many rounds have passed. 1 second. Change this thing. Sorry. Okay, so what I would do over here, and then the parameters. Why is this so weird? Okay, never mind. So the parameters, the first one is the player. The player type, like the I would say the main player refers to an array. So you would need to do this, integer array player. Same with the boss, integer array boss. That's like you're telling the method what I need in order to accomplish like what I desire to print out. And then finally int round. And then since this is a print info, you can format it whatever, like however you want. What I did is basically just to first print out a division line, and then I will say, oh, I want to print out the player health point, player power, boss health point, boss power. As you can see from the chart on the upper right hand corner, you just match that, and then finally we'll print out like how many rounds have we finished. So this is basically what a print info method could look like. Of course, you can change it to whatever format you like. You can even make a chart out of it, but I'm lazy, so I'm just keeping it simple. Next, let's see what's the next function we have not like touched. Oh, it's P attack. So the attack is based on attack power, and the enemy will subtract the amount of health point equal to your attack power. So basically, what you would need the player, right? You would need the information about the player. You would need the information about the boss. And do we need anything else? If we think about it, no, we don't. We don't need round numbers or anything. We just need like player and boss. After you decide the parameters, you can go down here and make another method with the same way. Void as well, and then instead of calling it print info, we call it by its name, which is P attack. Parameters just based on that, and then write the parameters. So we only need 2 in this case. And then what does it do? It's a really like, I would say, small method, because we only subtract. So this basically means I want to subtract some number of health from the boss, which is equal to the player's attack power. So we subtract player 1 or player's attack power from boss 0, which is a boss of index 0, which is for the boss health point. Yeah, that's simple. That's how simple it is. Next, let's look at P talent. So what do we need here? Since we're still attacking boss, we still need like player and boss, but then we now need the new parameter. Remember that in the beginning, the program asks you to pick a talent. So that's where the talent comes into use. You need to tell the program basically what is your talent. Like, what's their talent number? Did you pick talent 1, 2, or 3? And then do the exact same thing with the headings. public static void p talent. And then the parameters, if you look over here, we have the player, boss, and also talent. So player and boss are the exact same thing. So I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. But the talent, if you remember, is an integer because we let the player to decide basically which talent they're picking. So now we need to say, what are the 3 talents that like maybe we're using, right? So the talent 1 is like to attack power increased by 1 per round. Anything like this. So you look over here for the 3 talents, and then look down here for the code. So the first talent, if talent is equal to 1, like if the player chooses the first talent, the player 1, player index 1, which means attack power, it will be increased by 1. Else if the talent is not equal to 1, but the talent is equal to 2, the second talent says that it deals the actual damage equal to 50% of the boss missing HP. So we will subtract 0.15 times the parentheses 100 minus the boss HP. So over here, what we get from like this expression is the boss is missing HP, and then we want 15% of it. So we multiply by 0.15, and then we cast it to an integer. Of course, you should use a round. I'm just casting down just for like to look nicer, I guess, and easier to explain. We will say I want it to be an integer because integer and doubles they don't mix. So and then we subtract that from the boss HP right now. Okay, now that's the 2 scenarios. Now the third scenario, which is heal yourself by 2 HP per round. What this is simple. You just add 2 to the player index 0, which is the player health bar. Yeah. So that's what basically this method is about. Just gonna copy and paste under this. Yep. Next, P skill. Very similar thing, but instead of talent, now we want the array skills. And also, like after we want the skill, and also we want the scanner because we're gonna take it input from the player, asking the player what skill you want to use. So if you remember, we named the scanner console. Where is it? Yeah, over here. So after this skills, we named the scanner console. So we're gonna say, we're also gonna put console as a parameter. Similar thing. Let's look at the skills on the top and the code on the bottom. So this looks super complex, right? As it's actually not. So first of all, let me wind this. So first of all, we want the player, the boss, we want the skills, and also the scanner that we named console. So first, we want the player to know like what skills they could use, what skills that are left unused. So we print out skills, and then we print something out that a statement that asks the player to choose a skill to use. Or if they don't want to use a skill, they enter 0. If they say I don't want to use a skill, and then we put S as skill, and then we ask the player what to enter. And then let's take a minute to reread through the skills. So skill 1, it heals by 20 points and it heals enemy by 10 points. Easy. You add 20 to the player HP, 10 to the boss HP. So else if the player enters 2, the player says I want to use my second skill. The second skill deals damage equal to twice the attack power. So we subtract the player power times 2 from the boss HP. Also, if S is equal to 3, is take damage equal to 20% lost HP, then deal damage equal to 30% of 30% of boss missing HP. So over here, actually, I could change this. I was testing a different thing before, so that's what it would become. It's so basically this part define this expression states will give you like how many HP you have remaining, and then 0.2 is just 20% of that, and then you subtract it from yourself. Same thing with the boss, but instead we're doing 30%. Now the fourth skill is to take 10 damage, deal 20 damage to the boss. Really similar to first one, instead this is a minus, so you minus 10 from your health points, and then you minus 20 from the boss. Else if we choose the fifth skill, we say attack one time and then heal yourself by the same amount of damage dealt. So we know that we one attack, the damage dealt is equal to your attack power. So we just subtract the player's attack power from the boss HP, and then we add the same thing to the player's HP. And then we have a final scenario where the players say, I don't want to use skills this round. I want 0. So the boss, so basically this does nothing, which I represent by using just do some random stuff. Yeah, this does nothing. And then finally, if you remember, each skills could only be used once. What does this mean is that we have to remove skills from the array list if after like we use it. So based on this, if S is not equal to 0, because 0 means you have not used any skills. So if we use a skill, we would remove it from the skills. And then this basically finds the finds the index of the skill and then removes it. So this might be a bit confusing, but I think it's gonna be like more clear as we maybe try to do it try to play the game, because every round is gonna print out the information, you guys can see it more clearly. So from now, I'm just gonna copy that code as well because I don't want to type all of that. Finally, we're on to something called B attack, which is basically same as P attack, but instead it's reversed. The boss is attacking the player. So let's same thing, define that or static void B attack. Same parameter. But instead now you subtract the boss's attack power from the player HP. And yeah, and that's the end of our game. Like, what did I do? That's the end of like all the coding in our game. This game sounds like pretty complex, right? But we managed to finish it within like 120 lines. And then if you remove all the spaces I skipped, I'm pretty sure we can fit it like within like 100 lines around. Yeah, and that's it. Like, and then we could play it. Okay, let me pull out my console. 1 second. My computer is kind of slow. Okay, now it's not working. Yeah, maybe just take like a 2-minute break while I get everything set up. Yeah, it's open now. You guys don't really have to like learn this part. you should learn according to your teacher. It's really pretty confusing. So yeah, this is basically, this is a console where you can just basically interpret this as something that you would, I guess, see if you're actually playing a game. So you could put graphics and stuff, of course, but then this is just a pretty basic game. I'm not gonna bother. So let's just start the game. So you're gonna give it like a bit time to run. Okay. Where is this? So if you make mistakes like this, you have to like debug it. It's really common to like encounter bugs and mistakes while you code. So just expect a lot of editing. So yeah, first you could see that. Let me enlarge this. Oh, never mind, it's not gonna enlarge. It's gonna make it long. So first you see the program asks me to put my name. Now I'm gonna type my name, which is Yizhen. And then the program will print, hello Yizhen, welcome to the boss battle. Your goal is to defeat the boss without dying. Here's the initial information. And then it prints the information for me, blah, 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 I'm not gonna read that. And then round 0 finished, because we are not doing any round. So please note that the boss will enter rage state if its HP is below 30 or if the game lasts more than 10 rounds. During rage state, the boss will double its power and gain 3 HP every round. So if you this is the exact words I entered over here. So that means the program is running and working, at least until that part is printing out everything fine. And then now it's asking me to pick a talent. Please choose a talent. And it's blah blah blah, talent 1, talent 3. What I want to do is, for example, I want talent 1. I will enter 1, and then I will press enter. So this will basically tell the program I've decided that I want 1 as my talent. And then same thing with 3 skills. So instead of choosing a 1 number, we need to enter 3 numbers. So the good thing about this, instead of maybe like playing a real game, is that it allows you to change it. Because I could write 1, but before I press enter, I say, oh, I regret, I want 2. So I can press 2 like that. But like I'm just gonna use 1, 2, and 3 talent. After I enter that, it's gonna print out my. So after this, the game has already like started, I guess. And then here's the point where I need to choose a skill to use. So like if you're playing a real game, you're gonna see like a bunch of cool animation of maybe me stabbing the boss. But like this is like this an easy game, so no. So please choose a skill to use and enter 0 if you don't want to use anything. So let's say let's use skill 1. If you look over here, I have skill 1, 2, and 3 available. Skill 1 does what skill 1 does is he heals by 20 points and then heals enemies by 10 points. If I choose 1. So note that the player health point is 115 instead of 120 as we expected, but that's that's right because the boss already attacked us and the boss power is 5. So yeah. And then note that our talent is also working because what the talent we choose says that the attack power increases by 1 each round. And the first round passed, and now our power is 6. That works, which is great. And the boss health point is 105 instead of 110, same thing because we attacked it once already. And then the boss power is 5 because nothing changed. And then it's going to print round 1 finished. And then just as it kind of finished that, it's going to start a new round. So if you want to make it better, you could like do something to separate it, but our new round is already under progress. And now you have to choose skill 2. You have to choose skill. Let's say I don't want to use the skill. So now if you look over here, our health point is decreased by 5 compared to the last game because the boss attacked us once. Our power is 7 because of our talent. And the boss HP is 99 because our power is 6 already. So it's 105 is subtracted by 6, which gives us 99. And the boss power remains the same and round 2 finished. So now we still have 2 skills because we haven't used any. So let me just like use a lot of zeros and then say that. Okay, next. Let's use skill 2. That's like a lot of rounds have passed. Let me use skill 2. So what skill 2 does is that let me go back to the skills. So it deals damage equal to twice the attack power. So if you look closely, our attack power is like 12. One second. So our attack power is 12, right? And the boss HP is supposed to be 24. Okay, I think there's something wrong with that. Let me see. Oh, never mind. There's nothing wrong. Never mind. Yeah. So what this what basically what this does is that after the skills used after our talent, right? So that means that our after this, like after this, our power is 13 before we use the skill, and we already attacked the boss once. And then we already subtract like 13 from 54, and then we use our skill, which is to subtract 20%. I mean, to subtract like twice the attack power from the boss. I mean, twice the attack power from the boss pulse point. So we subtracted by 26. So if you plug that into a calculator, yeah, and then but you will say that hold on, that doesn't really work, right? So if you use 54 to subtract 12 and then subtract 2 times 13, you will get 16. Why is it 19? So remember that before the boss actually attacks, like this part, we're actually determining if the boss is in a rage state. If it's in rage state, the HP will gain 3 HP every round. So basically, it will be equal to 54 minus 12 minus 2 times 13 plus 3. And if you plug that into your calculator, you will get 19, which is exactly the boss HP. After doing that, you will say, oh, my code is correct. I got my desired result. So next, let's say I'm going to use skill 3. So skill 3, takes damage. You take damage equals to 20% of your lost HP, and deals damage equal to 30% of the boss lost HP. So I'm not gonna if you do it in a calculator, you will get the correct result. So the boss will go into the negative because it was like I guess overkill, I guess. And then the boss power is 10 because it's in rage state, even if the HP is negative. And then you will still have 60 HP left because 25 times 0.2 will be 5, and the boss attacked you by 10 points already. So you would have 60 points of health. So since the boss HP is negative, now we exit the while loop, and then since you win, the system will print you managed to kill the boss in 9 rounds, nice job. So yeah, that's how the game will work. Maybe now I want to say, can I try to kill it in less rounds? Maybe try 8 rounds. Let's try this. Let's start another game. Same thing. I will still use skill 1. I mean talent 1, skill 1, 2, 3. And then I'll use the first skill and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But now, I would say now, like I used last game, I used my second skill a bit later. Now I want to use it right now, and then use skill 3 right now. Nice. Now I kill the boss in 8th round. So this basically would allow you to have some strategies on like what to use and basically what combinations to use. And if like if I'm like doing this as a real game, I would do many tests to ensure that everything else is fair. Like there's not gonna be that one skill that overpowers everything. So for example, if I say, oh the first talent is too strong, how about that? And then take two damage. Now I want to say that it's too strong. You increase attack power by 1. Now I want to say that you also take 2 health points of damage per round. And then after fixing that, you have to fix your code as well. So let me see, where's the code? So instead of that, I mean not instead of that, in addition to that, you will subtract 2 from your health point as well. You save it and then you play the game, and the result will be different. So in a real, I guess, game designer, you will test this many times, try to add this to that skill, right? Add that to that skill, and then use different combinations, and then until you could say that they're all like the same, I guess, the same level of usefulness. There's not gonna be like the first skill is not gonna be like so powerful that you have to choose it to win in the least round. So that's basically, and then you test it until you ensure everything's fair, and then you could make graphics and stuff, and then release it to the public for everyone else to play. So yeah, we've only been learning Java together for like what 7-8 hours, and then you guys can create like a full functioning game out of it, which is really amazing. So I guess today's little optional homework is to maybe have you guys go back, and then you guys can take my game template, but I would say that it's better for you to code yours. So I'm not gonna give you the template. I think the recording will be available. Maybe watch the recording, see if you could come up with different skills and make it work, or see if you could like adjust everything to make everything more fair. Yeah, so I mean, we can all agree that game is fun, and you can actually make a career out of it with like coding or programming in the future. Or you can just do it as like your hobby. I think there are a lot of websites that allow you to publish your games. So yeah, with like all the knowledge we've learned in the past within like 7 hours, we could basically do most of the stuff already. So if you guys interested, make your own game, and maybe you guys could send it to me, and I could play it. And yeah, that is, I guess that is it for my part. I'm gonna do like the slide as well. So some more like, I guess, applications of computer science in the world today. So we have increasing automation around the world. We have AIs, robots that do stuff. Yeah, and then programs are necessary for us to connect with machines. So like maybe in the near future, programmers will be like one of the hardest jobs to take, because essentially like every industry will use machines or AIs and stuff for them to I guess operate more easily, and then programmers is necessary to code stuff, to I guess to talk with the machines, and then we can harness more efficient and accurate computing power with like just basically computer science. Computer science is a really big field and really general term. There are many little fields within it. So I guess if you guys want, like for those in high school, maybe try to look into different fields, see which one you would like to take as a college major. Or you could also decide after you went to college. And there are also a lot, like the fields are here examples: software development. So you could be a software engineer, cloud engineer, database developer, artificial intelligence, which is AI, machine learning, which is basically that's how you make a machine learn, I guess. Deep learning, that's kind of similar to machine learning, and data scientists. So what machine learning and deep learning is kind of about is that you I guess you train your machine through like a bunch of data, and then it would kind of learn patterns and stuff. Kind of like maybe you teach your dog to like sit and then give it a treat, kind of same thing with the computer. Mobile development and web. So you could also like design like a web page or design what like the back of a web page. Like all the websites are created by like humans, obviously. So that could be another field you might want to look into. Yeah, I guess that's basically it for like our class and summer class. So email me if you guys have any questions or want me to play your games or have like or want me to yeah, just basically anything. I check my email very often. So yeah, be sure to do that. Yeah, I guess that's it for today's class. Brandon, do you have anything else to say?
No, but I guess like it's been like a great journey so far, and thank you for everyone who showed up for like the 8 lessons. Yeah, I hope you guys like learned a lot throughout this course, and I hope you guys would be able to like pursue like computer science in like high school. Like just learn a lot of computer science. That's the reason why we're all here, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that concludes our program, I guess. Yeah, I think I have to share something. 1 second. Let me don't leave yet. Let me share something on my email. Um Let me share my screen again. Something to share from our future bridge program. So our fall program will be rolling out in early September. So stay connected. Just visit the website often so everything else will be announced on the website or go to the YouTube um, and join the community from the same webpage. There's like email, Facebook, and WeChat group. Um, yeah, I guess if you guys are interested in maybe taking more classes or I don't know, even I don't know what's offered, but just check the website often and you guys could like get the first-hand news and then join maybe fall lessons and learn more. Um yeah, I guess that might be it for today. So thank you for everyone that joined. Um you guys could yeah, you guys could leave now. So have a nice, I guess, rest of the summer and good luck on your new school year. Bye.